Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shakia Gatson, and I am the host of the ListNing Project. Today, we are having a part two to our segment with Mr. Rich Kilo. After our previous conversation, we had decided that we were going to reach back with each other and dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics that we feel would be most important and get more clarity on some things. Today, we will be diving into the topic of mental health and how it affects men and how we can go about noticing some signs and some ways that we can better assist men in terms of dealing with grief, insecurities, anything that might be coming up in their lives that might trigger some mental health issues. And, just chopping it up, honest conversation. Rich, as I said before, my biggest goal is to make sure that you are okay. So at any point, if we start discussing anything and it gets a little heavy, please honor that and we can take a pause for the cause. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll kick it off by just saying we'll talk a little bit about my Monday, but I did kind of hit a limit emotionally for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I think literally for the first time acknowledged it and just spoke about that honestly. I'm very grateful that I have the coworkers that I've had, the team that I'm on, but also like a friend and my boss, and he immediately jumped in and was like, "Hey, you're taking the afternoon off for a mental health day. Like, I'll handle everything. I'll cover for you. Don't worry about it. Go find something to do. Like, take a long drive, take a long walk, do what you can, but like, take the afternoon off."
Okay. Well,
Um,
that's awesome of him. I have a question for
yeah.
you before you begin.
Mhm.
When someone says to you, whether it be a boss or a friend tells you to take a mental health day, what is your initial reaction to that? How does that hit you?
Initially, it was like it almost feels like a little insulting. It's like, oh, you don't think it's like a challenge type of thing towards your masculinity kind of thing, where it's like, oh, you don't think I'm capable of handling it, or like I can suck it up and do it. Like I can work today. Like don't worry about it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's sort of intrinsic to a lot of men, where it's like, no, I'll bury it down. I'll push on. I'll push through. That's what we're sort of taught to kind of idolize. Whether it's like through media or even just culture and society and masculinity. It's like, no, you're not really supposed to express your emotions like that, like
Right.
your sadness and like sorrow and like yeah, like being vulnerable that way is not traditionally welcomed, or at least it hasn't been from my generation and generations before it. I do think it's getting better now.
I agree. I agree. But I think that's
Yeah,
because people are forcing it, like the way that we were taught in which how to treat men and what they're expected to do. It's not really bringing about healthy men. You know what
at
I'm
all,
saying? At all.
at all.
So,
I think women have a very powerful voice now. There is like shortfalls to social media and things like that, but giving people a voice that didn't necessarily have one before or felt like they never had one before, but now they do. And if they're saying something important, it will draw attention.
mhm.
I do think that was kind of behind the Me Too movement with women's sexual assault. Like there was a lot of women that felt more comfortable speaking up as other people spoke out and spoke up. And I hope that
Right.
that is what we're seeing with men's mental health, especially. We can delve into some suicide. That was part of the reason why I took the day off.
Mhm.
I lost a friend to like combat related circumstances 2 weeks ago, and then I came out of work last Friday and got a call and found out that a friend of mine from like back when I was 18 years old, I had known him that long, had taken his own life. And I didn't really, I just became very despondent. I didn't want to talk about it. Honestly, I didn't want to think about it, and like was very mentally detached and avoidant of it. And then I
Mhm.
woke up on Monday and like it literally, like I couldn't run away from it anymore, and it just kind
Right.
of all washed over me. And I was on a call with like some coworkers, and one of them was like, "Hey, Rich, you all right?" Like he could just hear it in my voice. And I was like, "Nah, man." And I broke down and started crying and talking about the two friends I had just lost. And then, fortunately, my like good friend and boss was there and there for me. But somebody sent him a message and was like, "Hey, Rich is having a good day today." Like he
Right.
jumped in and was like, "Hey, dude, take the afternoon off." Like I was like, "Yeah, I'm just kind of emotionally at my limit today, and like I just can't do it. I
So
just
when
feel
you
like I
had
can't do it."
Right. So when you have that, right, and you're told to take that mental health day, is it safe for you to be alone on those mental health days? Is it ideal for you to be like, yeah, you know what? I know that this is not necessarily the best space for you. You need to go and download. But what happens if you're alone? Like what should the protocol be, or what would have helped you in that space?
I think it's different for everybody. Actually, we talked on the last episode about like the strong support network of friends that I have, and every single one of them was reaching out to me, pinging, because I was honest with it. And I was just like, oh, you know what? Like, I do have to be honest right now. Like, I can't keep running away from these emotions, these feelings, and like, no, I'm kind of at my wit's end with it. So like, let me do what I want other people to do for me. Lean on
Mhm.
me, call me. So I did. I called a lot of my closest friends, talked to them. I took a long drive, like tried to go up Pikes Peak, but unfortunately the weather was not cooperating.
Okay.
But still had like an hour and a half in the car, listening to music, and then also talking to again, like the people close to me. I actually talked to one of the greatest women I've ever met, and I acknowledged her, my ex-wife and the mother of my daughter. I talked to her for 25 minutes and just told her
Okay.
like she always has a way of being comforting and like helping me like come back to reality and come back down from like high emotional states. And so,
Okay.
yeah, she and I talked for 25 minutes over her lunch break, and it was awesome. Like that's just kind of person and human she is. But it was also good of me, and like not to pat myself on the back too hard, but it was, I think I did the right things. I handled this the right way for probably the first time.
Oh, okay.
You
And what
know,
was different about it? Like, what made you say, you know what, I don't need to do this alone?
I think because of the circumstances from the second one, where it was just like, honestly, there was a weird premonition, almost a dream, the next day that I had over the weekend, where it was just like, if I don't do this and do it right, like I'll be, bad things come in threes. Like I could easily be the
Mm,
third one. I could easily become the third one. And so I need to handle this like for myself and for the people
that's
who love me, care about me, rely upon me, like those close friends of mine. We have a pact together. So like if I ever do get to that point where I'm like, hey, I'm calling it in, I have a pact with every single one of them that I have to call them first.
okay.
So I got six people of
That
the
you've got to
closest
have that
friends that are
conversation with.
before I will. And every single one of them has made it back to me. So it's like the same thing. Like if you ever do hit that low point. So I would encourage anybody, if you're concerned about somebody, if you, even if you're not, even if that's just your best friend. I lost my best friend from high school.
Hmm.
Like that was unexpected. I lost several friends from our first unit, and I just
Right.
lost. This was now the eighth person from that unit to suicide. A lot of people that were very, very close to me. It's been a consistent theme throughout every chapter of my life, and you know, it, I don't know why. I don't know how to make sense of it, but
I agree.
if there's anything I can do, it is to find a way to channel it into a positive thing and find a way to put the negative energy that comes about from it into a positive outlet. So I think a lot of this is just, it boils down to honesty. Like this is why this was the first time for me. It was, I was genuinely honest with myself and
Mm,
like felt very comfortable relying upon these people around me, where it's like, hey, yeah, no, this is just a bad day. They understand these circumstances, but every single one of them checked on me the next morning and the next morning and the next morning to make
okay.
sure I was so good.
So it was consistent checking on. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, he sounded good to yesterday, so I'm
Yeah,
just gonna, okay.
yeah, say that it's okay and then move on. Yeah, because I do think that a lot of guys that go through with that, they feel like they've been abandoned or that they don't have a support system network or that they like nobody cares about them. You know, um, and like that's in every circumstance I've been a part of, that's always been the furthest thing from the truth. You know,
Right.
you have so many people there, and like, I can promise you, I can get six dudes to carry your casket, and I can promise you, those same six dudes would appreciate you calling them in the middle of the night to have a
Before
conversation.
before we even have to
Exactly,
get to that point. Exactly.
exactly. You have a
Okay.
lot more people in your life, and that was something that I learned on Monday. Was you have a lot more people in your life that will outwardly care for you if you're opening up and being honest about your struggle and saying like, hey, literally just emotionally, I just feel like I can't do it today. Like, don't abuse it, don't cry wolf. But like, if you do get to that point, throw it up and just say, hey, yeah, I gotta tap out on today. I just can't do it right now.
Okay, so when you said don't abuse it or cry wolf, most people on average attempt at least 4 times before they complete. How do we get to the point where people don't get burnt out with the, oh, you're crying wolf, and understand that, even though somebody might feel like they are at their low, just taking your life is a very scary place to be in, and to show up for that person regardless of how many times you feel like it is like, oh man, you said this 10 times already. Like it's a very big deal. Like, and I don't think a lot of people understand that if they've never gotten to that low where,
Yeah. I've so it's kind of a different thing. Like, if you're having those consistent things, so one of the things that they're going to ask you if you go to a mental health clinic is like the first 3 questions, like, are you hearing or seeing things that don't exist? Do you want to harm yourself? Do you want to
harm others, right?
Yeah. Like, we got to get these 3 things out of the way real quick right now. Just see how you're feeling. And yeah, if you're having consistent thoughts about self-harm, well, there's significant need for therapy and intervention and like professional help, probably medication, because the chemical imbalances in your brain, and like any doctor that's actually honest with you will tell you straight up honest, the best neurologists in the world and professors will tell you that we still do not understand the human brain and the mind and how it works at all.
We are so small in terms of what we know and how it works, and how even trauma or stress affects your neurological linkages. So,
and then you look at CTE, things that impact military guys, but also professional athletes like football players, hockey players as well. That's kind of an under-told story.
Mm-hmm.
NFL's dealing with that. The NHL is doing a great job of burying it too, and has been burying it for a long time as well. And the military did as well. Thankfully now, again, like you can talk about, the downsides of social media, but some of the upsides of it is that these dark topics are now being brought to light.
Yes.
And we can't avoid them because it's like, hey, no, this is a societal issue. This impacts all of us. As men, like, I think it's like a 12-to-1 ratio to women of suicide.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a lot. And so it's a significant problem, and it's something that, like, I can't ignore it. Like, I can't. I have lost people closest to me everywhere I've ever been. I've had a friend, in every chapter of my life, my best friend from high school, my first boss in the military, 2 friends that were on the same team. Another guy that we went to UI with, like 8 people from one unit out of like 200, which is damn near 5%.
Which is crazy. Yes.
Yeah. It's like 4% of the people that I knew there.
And that's not going to be the end of it, because as we get older, different things happen.
And that's not even to account the losses I've sustained from, bomb tech friends in combat, and also people from disease, like, we'll say her name, Jolene Donovan, was one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. We said these nice things about her quality as a human before she was diagnosed with cancer. Like, everybody loved her universally. There's not a single person that you would find that would go running around saying bad things about her. And like, that sucked and hurt. So unfortunately, like, this death, I think this is the 21st person I've lost in as many years. So it's literally an annual occurrence for me.
How do you look forward to the happy times in the coming years with this track record?
So I do my best to do what I'm doing now, to speak open and honestly about these difficult topics, to keep it from being taboo.
Right.
We'll talk about anything else, like all the other off topics, money, sex, politics, religion, like whatever. So if we're going to talk about all those things completely open, then we're damn sure going to talk about this stuff. Like, don't bitch up on me now.
Listen, I totally understand, and I agree. Yes.
And we have to look out for each other, because I don't want to say we're underserved from a mental health standpoint, but it is a significant challenge to counsel and rehabilitate and treat things like post-traumatic stress disorder or treatment-resistant depression. And some of these things we had before we even came into the military. Like I think I'm
That's a fact.
genetically predisposed towards depression. I think it runs in my family, and I didn't do myself many favors by compounding it with trauma, but somebody had to do that job, and I did it, and I deal with the outcome now. But I was very young and naive with what I was subscribing for, and that was going to be a lifetime of traumatic events and a lifetime of, unfortunately, losing the people that I love the most.
Yeah, it's a very hard pill to swallow. I also feel like
they didn't tell me this shit in the recruiting office.
No. They won't tell you that, because a lot of people will be like, "Wait, what? I might as well just stay where I'm at and deal with that."
To lose all my friends. Yeah, like I just went to junior college. That shit was way easy. I remember in training when I was writing stuff and like running like for like 2.5 hours and like damn near drowning in a pool for 4 hours on Saturdays, and I was like, man, I for real should have just went to college. Like college was so much easier. And then when I started writing like long reports, I was like, this is way harder than anything I've done in college.
Yes.
I got to college and I was like, this shit is so easy. Like
this is what you guys are complaining about? 15 pages?
Yeah, you're all bitching about MLA, APA formatting. Have you ever formatted a serialized intelligence report? Talk to me.
Putting all those different control markings and portion markings and it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah,
but let me ask you this question.
Don't talk to me about your formatting. Yes.
When we talk about mental health and we speak about like the sign of the times now where people are not able to pay for health care, they have to worry about the idea of, am I going to be able to pay my mortgage or rent or, send my kid to school, or do I sit down and worry about my mental health issues? Like,
yeah, the therapy that they need, they could probably elevate their life and bring them up from, out of what they're struggling and going through, their current struggle. So, it's actually, I've talked about, and I talked a little bit about it, like how I approached therapy, and I wasn't doing it necessarily correct anyways. So, I'm fortunate, like it's covered through my veterans benefits. But still, like I've ran through the gambit of it. Like I've had over 30 therapists in the last 20 years, just for moving around, but also just some just didn't work out. Right. I've had maybe 3 of them where I felt like I was truly connected and I got something beneficial from our sessions.
And did they leave?
I carried with me. One of them unfortunately got deployed. It was, like I had a really good one in the military, and then I went through like just a rash of awful ones that I couldn't relate to. They couldn't relate to me, or they just tried too hard. And it was like, nah, man, this ain't gonna work.
This is not gonna work. Yes.
So the thing that I've done for others, because I've seen this happen with other people, like I can recommend my friends go to therapy all the live long day, but like I share their experiences where it's not necessarily positive, and it's like, why the fuck am I even trying to do this? Why am I wasting my time? This feels like a waste of my time. Part of that was on me. Part of that was, again, like narcissism and ego and the way I carried myself into that without direct intention of healing and trying to resolve specific issues. But the other part was just a lack of capability to relate. Right. What I have been doing is, again, what I'm doing now, being open, honest with my closest friends, forming a pact with them. So like, if I want to take my own life, I got to call 6 dudes and talk to them and convince them that I'm making the right decision. I can promise you I'll get through like 2. And then maybe I'll get to like the 3rd one, and like then somebody's going to be at my door. Like they're going to call somebody that I know or that they know, and like through whether it's a bomb squad network or a military network or something, or a friend that's a cop, but like somebody will show up at my fucking door. Like it's impossible for me to do it and to go through with it and carry it out because I made that pact and commitment to my friends. And so I think what we need to do as men is rely upon each other to be open and honest. Like have your 5 friends. Like this isn't MySpace with your top 8, but these are the top 5 friends and the dudes that will do there for anything. If you hit your lowest point, your rock bottom, they've got your back. And you have to also be that way for them. And that's something I learned too. Like I got really frustrated and disappointed and felt like I didn't have a lot of friends when I was deployed for a year, and like nobody called me. And I was just like, how many fucking times did you call them when they were deployed, motherfucker?
Okay. Yes.
Turn inward. How many care packages were you sending? How many emails were you sending out? Hey, brother, I'm just checking on you. What are you doing for your other people? And so that, like, I learned that pretty early and young, where it's like, oh, you have to be that guy because us as men, we're not going to be that dude.
Okay, so
So
help me understand that, because
yeah,
I feel like that to me is a very big thing. There isn't a level of reciprocity with men in terms of their friends.
yeah.
Like you guys sometimes treat your friends really bad, especially in
Oh
situations
man,
where it's like, bro, like they're crying out for help and it's like, oh, that's man stuff. They got to figure it out on their own. Or, or you
yeah.
get petty with them and it's like, no, you got to put that aside. Like, why is that? What is the background to the level of reciprocity that you guys don't give to your friends?
I think it's just the lack of expectation. So if somebody does put themselves out there where they really truly are for you, it's almost awkward and uncomfortable. It's almost like getting a compliment when you've been, verbally abused your whole life. It's like, wait,
Okay.
why are you doing this? Why are you being? What do you mean? What do you mean you're being
Why are
genuinely
you
nice? You
showing
love me.
up
You
as
care
my
about me.
friend?
Yeah. Why are you really, really here? What are you trying to do right now? Like this is we're taught to approach those situations with suspicion.
That's
Like
sick.
you're trying to pull something over me. Yeah, it feels like, but it's just, I think it's a generational thing. I think as men, like they've, and we have as men, like taken advantage of each other, taken advantage of each other's emotions. And so like out of survival instinct, you're sort of taught to just bury them down. Don't expose your weakness. Like it's survival.
Yeah. Because I have
We're,
a coach, right? And I have to like constantly re revector him because a lot of things that he says, it's more like that's soft. That men ain't supposed to do that. And I'm like, whoa,
you're
that first of
conditioned
all,
and
that's
taught to
not
believe this. Yeah.
healthy. That is a very much a man thing. Like you do feel it just because you don't express it doesn't mean that it's not there. And he's like, nah, but that's soft stuff, man. You shouldn't be paying no guy no compliment or doing this. And it's like, you're sick. You're
You know how
sick.
good it feels when a woman pays me a compliment and I'm like, damn, like you just made my heart skip a beat. Like you just made me feel really good about myself. Like I'm going to remember this for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
And a guy
yes,
can do that too, and it doesn't have to be sexual.
it doesn't. No, yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. But I mean,
So
I also feel like women, because we are
some men
allowed
are
to
to
play
blame
with
for this
dolls. What? Tell me. Go
with
ahead.
with what you admire and perceive and like accept as masculinity.
I
There's
will agree with
there's
that.
women, and I think it's getting better, and I think that this is sort of like even the whole purpose of why we're having this discussion and the way that we can have this discussion is that it is getting better. People are being more honest about this, but women are realizing now actually what they want from a man. They don't want they want both. They want to have the cake and eat it too. You want a provider, protector, a masculine, strong force that's there for you, but
Mm-hmm.
you also want somebody who's intelligent and introspective enough to reflect upon his emotions and vulnerable enough to admit that he's scared or he has anxiety about something or that he's fearing something to come and
I
wants
think
to
those are different
to
types of women that
let that
want
out.
those things too, though. If I'm being completely honest, those are different types of women because a lot of women, they get on the internet, they talk to
Mm-hmm.
their friends, and they want this hyper masculine man that does all these brute things.
They
But
think they
then
want it.
if he, yeah,
Yeah.
right, and then they get it, and it's like, oh my God, I would choose the bear over the man, and it's like, but you've conditioned men to act this way because this is how they get the
Yeah.
woman.
You act like we're supposed to be these knuckle dragging Neanderthals that are gonna like, yeah, I'm gonna have a club in one hand, your hair in the other, and drag you around. Like, take your pick. I do think it is different women though. Like even with friends of mine, where I could see them as more of that side versus me with the more emotional feeling side of things. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
the women that would date me would not date you, and the women that date you would not date me.
Exactly. So you've got to pick your poison. But I do feel like when you say that, women, we are responsible, I do feel like I've
I don't say
always said,
responsible. It plays a role. It plays a part. It plays a part in our psyche of what we perceive you want us to be like. If I could be more direct and honest and specific with what I was trying to convey there.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've always felt like women were the deciding factor whether they are going to make or break their sons. That's just my personal opinion on it. Because you're either going to have a man that is honoring of his mother in terms of how he treats women, like, okay, you know what? My mom showed me that this is the way in which to handle women in a proper way, or he's resentful of his mom because she wasn't nurturing or she was overbearing. I feel like fathers play a role in teaching them manly things, but in terms of how to show up for women, I think that it is definitely the mom that has more impact in how they show up for future women in their lives.
I would agree with that. I think that she will set the standard for acceptable treatment and what she's willing to tolerate, and as well as like how you are supposed to treat a woman. I do actually think like the maternal son bond is significant.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's probably more significant than the fraternal bond, like what your father is.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for us to grow up resenting or disliking our fathers and then go off and do our own thing and try to use that as fuel for success and positivity.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, if you have a very negative relationship with your mother or you think that certain types of behavior are acceptable as a man that you witnessed growing up, like, yeah, no, you're just going to be a piece of shit.
And you know what? I feel like a lot of men are not mentally stable because they don't want to have that hard conversation. Like, it's
I think it all boils down to honesty.
I feel, hold on one second.
Yep.
Come on in. So, yeah, quiet.
We'll pause break and edit this, but I genuinely love the way you and Norm are raising your young man.
Oh yeah, he
has a insanely bright future ahead of him, and yeah,
I love it.
He's gonna be a ladies' man.
Oh God, if he gives him the
he's
shot.
gonna be the lover boy, and he's gonna do what I did, and it's just like cling to the one. You know, you find your girl, and it's like, oh, this is my girl. Like I'm romantic.
I don't. Yeah,
I don't need anybody else. Yeah, this is gonna be my 20+ years.
God, he's so very. I think the only thing that I have with that is he's very logical, and so
he's extremely cerebral.
Yes. And so sometimes
I feel compliment for a young man, like, not to be narcissistic or egotistical, but he reminds me a lot about myself. He's completely comfortable in his own world, getting lost in a book, likes to be creative and do his own thing, has big ideas, but like understands that there's work that goes behind them to make it achievable.
Yes. I almost feel very scared for the young lady that has to navigate that, because where do you fit in? Because he's very so once he's locked in, you've got to be able to navigate your own waters sometimes, because he's going to
find
present.
A strong independent woman who doesn't need him, is going about in her own right, and is just like, yes, you are here to provide me with emotional love and support, but like we're both doing our things,
right?
You know, and you're not going to sway me off my track. You know, he'll find a chick in medical school or something. Like, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on this kick now where he wants to be an author. So he's like, I want to be an author. I want to be, and then I want to, go into.
ChatGPT is trying to phase you out of life, right? But here's the thing, and like this is why like the screenwriters and all these people, it's like, well, that's because you're not creative enough and original enough to begin with. That's because you produce formulaic bullshit already that people consume. Hollywood has been formulaic since its inception. Like, we've studied psychologically, like, this is how you manipulate things. This is how you write a story, a movie, to tell a story, to impart wisdom or a morality point. And this is what you do. And that's one of my biggest critiques about a show or like a series is like, this shit's formulaic. It's the same thing every single time, and if it's the script, it's literally crazy. Scripted out. Right. Like I can tell you what's going to happen at the end of this shit when I watch it.
Reading The Puppet Master right now.
Ooh,
so I'm definitely looking at that, and I also just finished reading again Animal Farm.
Okay, yeah.
So you really do understand how things are cyclical, but I also have come to the realization that myself, I was always a creative, always into writing short stories, poems, and all
Hmm.
those things. And for a while, I lost it. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that I was consuming way too much of other people's visual ideas and how much that
Ooh,
kills your creative juices. And so when we say like, oh,
absolutely.
oh, everybody's just regurgitating the same thing, is because they don't have any original ideas coming in because they're too inundated with like visuals and people's ideas. They don't have their own.
It's very, very funny you bring this up because I have a relatable point and story about this. Like, I I have a tattoo on the inside of my forearm, and it's from a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvin and
Old
Hobbes are sitting on a
school.
rock, and the quote above him in the thought bubble was, "I bet I'm missing some really great TV shows right now." While they're
Mm-hmm.
sitting and watching this beautiful sunset over a lake. And when I was in Hawaii, like I committed myself to like not having TV because I was like, I can sit here and watch other people live their lives and the videography of other people living their lives, or I can go out and live mine,
If live yours, right.
have my own story, live a life that is film worthy, go do my own things, do things that other people aren't willing to do. Like, here's an opportunity for me. Like, I live in one of these places, and I was the other
That
thing
people
where it's
dream
like,
of.
and people spend thousands of dollars every day to come and see. So I was like, I would go and watch the sunrise or the sunset. And I committed to doing that either if I miss in the morning, then I go do it in the evening
Mm.
because it's like, I'm not going to waste this time. I think
How did
about
that work for
time.
you mentally? How did that work?
It was honestly, I was doing a lot of this with intention. I actually owe it to a former colleague of ours, Josh. But I was talking to him while we were golfing one day and about some of these thoughts and ideas. And he's like, "Man, it sounds like you'd be interested in like Stoic philosophy." And I was like, "I've never heard of this. Like, tell me more." And he's like, "It sounds like what you're seeking and like the type of mindset that you want. And it's like very warrior ethos minded. So like, I think you'd really benefit from that." I was like, "Okay." So I started reading a lot of it, and then was like, "Oh, it
This is
seems like
me.
common sense. It is, and it seems like common sense things, but like all the lessons that we learned growing up that we don't put into practice, like you know,
That
we've been
part.
taught all this stuff." It's funny. I had an insult. You remember Carmen Love, but her
Yes.
her favorite story of me was I was talking about somebody who had made just like a really really dumb mistake or error, and I was just talking about how stupid it was, and she was like, "Rich, that's not nice." And I was like, "What? I'm not the one that told that dumb motherfucker not to pay attention in school."
So no give. No give, no chill.
That was what I was. Definitely no chill back then. Yeah, but it was like we learned this shit. Like some of us paid attention and took it to heart, and some of us didn't, and that's why we're here talking about this now. But so a lot of it
Oh.
does seem on the surface like as if it's common sense and lessons that you already know, and so it can be kind of hard to invest in this. But you have to actually take a step back, view yourself through the third person view,
Uh-huh.
and say like, I'm not doing that though. Like, okay, yeah, good for me. I know this, but like, do I do it? Do I actually put it into practice? Oh, now
Mm.
here's the challenging part. Now here comes the honesty. No, I don't. Now here comes accountability, self accountability, and like personal discipline. What do I do? I was talking to somebody recently about budgeting time
Mm.
because they were talking about buying a boat. And I was like, well, let's just factor this out. Like, if you work an 8 hour work week, typical American day, you probably tack on that to be 10 hours, right? And if you look at how many
Hold on.
hours are in a
Hold on
month,
1 second. Hold on.
yep.
Okay. I just started hearing all kinds of weird noises. I'm like,
No, it was
what?
coming through for me too. No worries.
Okay.
What I was saying was, oh shoot, what was I saying? Um, I was talking
Oh,
about time management,
yes.
how many hours you have. So like, factor in. So like, take that out, right? Like, that's 50 hours a week, 200 hours a month that you can pretty much guarantee you're going to be spending on your profession, your job. If that started where it was like equal, 8 hours, presumably most people get 8 hours of sleep, but I know they don't as adults. Typically it's 5 to 6 hours. This is why this becomes important. So when you add something like just say a boat into your time, how many weekends are you going to use that? Let's just say two. during the summer
Mm-hmm.
months, or freshwater like fresh air months. Like, okay, so that's 10 hours each day just for the boat. So let's just say you budgeted and you had 150 hours of free time. You would just took 20 away from it.
Right.
So if you divide it up into, actually do the math, like you say you have, XYZ amount of hours each month, and then this is what you're taking away from it. This is where your time is going. This is where you're devoting it to. And so when I actually thought about that, I was just like, oh, how am I using my most precious commodity? Honestly, what am I spending it on? Am I wasting it watching other people living their lives when I should be out living mine?
Yeah. I think most people are actually afraid to discover what that looks like. They get into
Yeah.
a formula of this is what I need to do in order to make this happen and this happen. And quality of life is usually at the last part of the equation that they fit in.
It's very funny when you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and like the path to self-actualization. And that was something too that I was investing in, of like, just philosophically discovering things and new ideas and thoughts, but like with the concentration of focus of I want to be a better man. Like, I'm single again. I would like
Mm-hmm.
to be married again. I want to be like the best candidate I could be for dating, and I want to be a good man. I want to take hard lessons learned, actually learn them, and like put it to practice so that I'm what somebody deserves. Like,
Gotcha.
yeah.
What do you think about that word deserves? Because there are some people that feel like we don't deserve things or that the word deserve is misused. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about that concept of the word deserve not necessarily being a thing?
So for me internally, like I know exactly where it comes from. I told my ex that like we had a pretty volatile relationship. We broke up, made up, broke up, made up type thing. It was mostly
Mm-hmm.
over distance issues, but um, I did start going to therapy, taking it seriously, and I told her something, and I said like, I know I'm not where I need to be right now, but I am trying as hard as I can to be the man that deserves to be with you.
Mm.
And that's my goal. That's what I'm working towards, and like that's where I'm focused. Because I know like there's still things that I need to correct and fix with me as a man to be a good like person in a relationship. So I'm gonna be honest about that. That's a lot harder than I think a lot of other things that we deal with men is it's just being completely honest with yourself and like acknowledging your faults and your flaws. I think it also is a good gauge of the character of a man is when you ask him what his faults and flaws are.
Mm.
It's a pretty good way of seeing how somebody views himself, and like an ego test. It's also like a part of like selection for certain jobs. It's like
You know what? I never
what's your
even thought
biggest
about
mistake?
that. Like, what?
What was the
Yeah.
last mistake you made? What is your biggest mistake that you've made? Have you even put any thought into that? You know?
Hmm. Yeah, because I feel like as a person that is truly working on showing up as my true self, I think I can see the things that I haven't done well or or at least understand why I didn't do those things well so that I know how not to repeat them or know when it's getting ready to show up again. But I don't think that a lot of people do. I think they like I said they attribute the things that are going wrong with them to someone else rather than
Mm-hmm.
how they are taking in what happened and making it, you know.
I think, and I don't mean to project at all, but I just get the sensation that you do what I do, where you and I go the complete opposite direction and put it all on ourselves. And we blame ourselves solely. This is all my fault that it just didn't go right, or the way that I would have desired, or the way I wanted it to,
Yes.
or the way I feel like it should have be based off of what I was providing.
But you know what the
Um,
even crazier part is? When you talk to people, they don't often get that.
no,
They
no,
assume that you like, well, you think it's my fault. And it's like, actually, no. Like
no. I
I've
blamed
over here
myself for
and I've thought
everything.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm super
yeah.
hard on how things don't go well because I don't really
Hmm.
invest myself in too many things. So the things that I do is like man, I'm putting everything into this. And then when it doesn't, it's like, fuck, really?
So impart some stoicism on you, but there's the concept of amor fati, is Latin for love fate. Love
Mm,
things for how they happened, not for, and genuinely love them for how it happened. Love it for the rainy days and the storms that brought you the sunshine.
mm.
Acknowledge, take a step back, acknowledge it, take it into its entirety, and love it for what it was, not for what you wanted it to be or how you wanted it to be. Don't be dissatisfied with it. Love it for the way that it actually was, the way that it turned out.
That's where
And
I am now
then
with it.
you will like, I did an episode with some of my friends where we talked about the concept of happiness.
Then that's
I
when you're
wanted
truly happy because you're
it.
not doing it
What does
for
that
the
mean?
outcome. Like it's whether it's going to be good or bad. Like I really did this with a genuine heart. And
Do you know what three guys that I asked, they're, close friends of mine, said what like happiness meant to them?
what?
Just the absence of pain, the absence of struggle, the absence of strife, the absence of obligation.
Mm. Hmm.
I remember when I had hernia surgery when I was 20, I took like opioids like Percocet, like strong ass Percocet,
Oh God,
and
I can't take those things.
I don't do it unless it's like for surgery, and I only do it for like 3 days, and then I switch to like NSAIDs and like yeah.
And thug it
Um,
out the rest of
but
the way.
but I remember thinking, and like I told my ex-wife, I was like, hey, if the house catches on fire, you gotta come get me out. Like I don't give a fuck about anything right now. Like I don't care about a damn thing, and like literally, like I don't care. Like I don't care about anything right now. And I'm like, this is why people do heroin. This is what that feels like.
Oh,
You
is
just
that
took
a good
away all
feeling?
to not have pain, to not be in pain. I was like, this is what heaven must be like. So you don't feel pain anymore, whether it's emotional or physical. Like I didn't have any physical pain. And so I was like, oh, this is awesome. And it was the first time like I had the ability to like shut down, and like I had a week where I didn't have to like have any obligations. So I was like, all I have to do is play video games and sit on the couch and drink these milkshakes. Hell yeah. I'm like, I know this isn't permanent and you can't do this for like a lifestyle,
Forever. But for
but
right
for like a
now,
week, this is like the best week I've ever had in my whole life. And I'm just high and playing video games, and I don't have to worry about anything. And I'm like, this is the happiest I've ever felt.
that would drive me absolutely. I couldn't do it. Like I
So
couldn't
it's
do
not
it.
sustainable, right? And I acknowledge that. Like, this is not a lifestyle. You cannot do this. You can't, you have to have the sunny day or the rainy days and the storms to make the sunny days special. You have to have that. I knew that from even in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were debating like a topic in our government class, and it was like, well, if you had, you know, all the money in the world, or, everything you ever wanted, like, what would you do with it? And people were like, oh, most people go to philanthropy. I give it away, you know?
Mm.
Or they turn towards their family. I would make sure that my family is taken care of. It's like literally, okay, you're a billionaire. What do you do with your money? I thought it was an interesting concept and idea, even just for a class and a debate. But I was like, honestly, it's just going to get boring. Like,
It is because then
I,
where
I
does the
don't mean to be
struggle come in?
exactly. I don't mean to be cynical, but like, I don't know if anybody's ever played a video game with cheat codes, but like, go play Grand Theft Auto with all the cheat codes unlocked, where you have all the money, you can't die, you have all the video game, like cars, the guns, everything. That shit's fun for like an hour.
And after that, you'll never pick it back up again.
Because it's like, why? There's no challenge anymore. And so I said, I was like, look at the most famous, successful people in the world. Look at their mental health. Do you think that these people are happy when they have everything that we're all supposed to be conditioned towards desiring? Or is it really like more money, more problems? Is it really like that? Because I think it is.
Right.
And I think that like more money you have, more obligations of your time, like this all actually kind of rolls into itself, because the more money you have, the more obligations of your time, the more people that want your time, the more people that are after you. This is where you have to become judicious, and you actually have to like budget in like free time for yourself. Very successful, driven people. I don't envy their lifestyle,
No. No, not only that, but you have to then take into a whole nother
because I
set of
own my,
problems.
yeah, I own my 160 hours of off time. I
Yes.
own it truly now. Before I didn't. Before I had maybe 20 hours of me time. a month of discretionary time to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it is the most precious commodity. Like that's not up for debate. Everybody universally agrees, whether you're philosophical or religious, whatever. This is the one thing that you cannot trade, you cannot barter with, you cannot get it back. It is the most valuable thing that you have. How you invest and spend your time is what people will compensate you for.
Okay.
That is when it becomes monetized. And so if you monetize that time, and I know my hourly rate and what I make because I'm a contract employee. So I'm like, damn, did I just spend
a whole hour's worth of
$1,000 playing video games, Rich? $1,000.
But yeah,
But you
what
cannot put a
about it? What's
price on.
wrong with that?
So what's wrong with that is you are not supposed to monetize your personal time.
Right.
You should not be thinking that way because that time is truly invaluable. And that is like the crux of this. And like the point that I'm trying to make is that like you cannot place a dollar amount on value of that time, because if you had it for yourself to spend it in another way, who knows what the monetary value would be. And you can't monetize the feeling, the sensation, the emotions that time gave you with how you spent it.
Okay, so pose this question to you. When you think about people that are not necessarily mentally balanced,
Yeah.
how should they factor that time? How should they look at that time, considering oftentimes what they're doing is not in the benefit of their best life, or seeing.
Yeah.
So how should they look at that? Should they look at that more on I need to be investing this amount of time to become better, or should they just live whimsically because I'm in this space of Kanyeism, where I just do whatever the hell I want to, however I want to, and let the chips fall where they may? What's the right answer?
So I don't think there is no universally right answer. So I'll start out with that. It is a personal choice, a personal decision. The satisfaction will come from internal honesty of yourself. Like, what am I actually capable of achieving? What do I want to achieve? How do I get there? Am I willing to put forth the work and discipline necessary to get there? That is where we get happy. Like, we get serotonin dumped into our brains based on completing tasks. Like, that's why a checklist is fun for some people, and they're almost addicted to it because it's hey, I checked that shit off. Like, serotonin, baby, give me that. I do it too, and so like I notice it like when I complete something, when I accomplish a task, and when I set a goal for myself and I achieve it, and I feel like I did my best. That is the greatest feeling that you can have when you do something like that and you devote significant amounts of time and effort towards it, and you stay disciplined and you accomplish the goal that you set out for yourself. That is the happiest you'll be.
Okay. Now, what happens if that goal is rooted in unhealthy thinking or unhealthy expectations?
Then you're going to wind up with an unhealthy result, And so like that is like the point of health, like that, like what's called that, like a median point, an equilibrium point, and you're going to fall on either the left or right side. Like, I fell short of this goal or I exceeded this goal. And then like, if I fall short, I might get feelings of sadness, depression. If I exceed it, well, then I might even get negative emotions of like self-righteousness and cockiness. So it literally is knowing yourself, knowing your emotional boundaries, your left, your right limits, and actually cognitively thinking about this. Most people, I don't believe, take the time out of their day, and mostly because of the budget in their free time, that 160 hours a month that we get, like, they don't invest it intrinsically looking inwards. It's like taken up by watching TV or distractions from work or family, or how everybody else in the American lifestyle like fulfills their time.
Okay.
So very few people are like, and this actually harkens back towards what you were mentioning earlier. What can we do? Like, if you don't want to spend the money to go to therapy, find your friends, your closest significant friends, your confidants, like dudes that you literally will trust them with your life. You will sacrifice your life for them. They'll sacrifice your life for them. Like you, like guys that you literally can't tell anything and everything to in confidence. If you can't get to therapy, have your confidant. have your buddy, your brother that's like there by your side, or even a female, like not to genderize it, just like as a military thing. That's why it comes up. But
Right.
I've got friends of mine that are women that like we tried to date and it just didn't work romantically, but it's still like, hey, we're
And you can
friends.
still be
Like,
friends, right?
yeah, like you're still my confidant. Like I still will lay everything on you, and like honestly, I think that's why they appreciated me in the first place. Like it didn't work out romantically, but like you saw this side of me and saw that I was a good guy that like will talk to you about anything and everything and be straight up and down honest. So honestly, in dating, I think that's like my biggest attribute is the level of honesty that I have and the ability that I've done the work to look intrinsically and inwards towards myself to try and like rehabilitate myself and like be the best version that I can, and like passionately done it and admitted the hard facts that like, no, these are my limitations and this is where I need to do better.
Okay. And the reason why I asked the question to you was because I feel like a lot of men, and I think it's more men than women, just because the nature of what you all are asked to do or what you've taken on.
The perception, yeah,
the
of
perception
course.
of like,
Perception of what
okay,
we're supposed to.
like you do well, you succeed. Like, we were talking about 6, 6, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say you make the 6 figures and you're there and you've completed that task and you're probably the first of your family to maybe make the 6 figures, but you have no idea who you are after you don't make those 6 figures. Mentally, you're still shot. You're still that same person back there because you have no idea what the true value of any of this is. And mentally, you show up this way, but that's not what's really there. So that's why I asked the question of like, what is the value in it?
It's funny too, because women do claim that they want this, but like if the personality of your character is genuine, authentic, and true, and like you really are a good gentleman,
they will take
like,
far less.
A woman will not give a shit if you make 60,000, 6 million, or $60 million. It is about how you treat her, about how she feels at the end of the day. Does she close her eyes and lay down at night, and is she happy to be there next to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or is she afraid you're gonna argue or fight or stir up some shit, and then first thing in the morning? Like how does that other person lay down and sleep next to you? Is it softly and kindly, or is it stressed and distressed?
Did you feel like when you made? Was there a sweet point where you made enough money to be happy versus where you made a shit ton of money and you were like, not only do I have to maintain this, but this is way more stressful and I wish I could go back to this sweet spot?
No, but I saw that and learned that lesson. So like I saw that with other people. Like I just mentioning my friend that just bought a boat, like that's why I brought that up. I saw other people who had far more means and wealth than me being unhappy because of the investment of their time and the obligations that their time takes up and the obligations that are placed upon them based upon their position and role in society. If you're a professional athlete and you're making a lot of money, there's a certain level of expectations and a level of perception that everybody has about you of how you're supposed to be and behave. And everybody's judging you based upon this, like the gold standard. And it's like, these are just human beings that do a job.
They just happen to be good at this thing right here. But
when I talked to them and hung out with them, they're like, oh, Rich is a cool ass dude. Like I was playing Call of Duty with them and kicking the fuck out of them because, y'all are in my world now. Like,
right, yeah, exactly.
Don't give me cleats and tell me to get on the field, but like, no, you're stepping my shit. Like, okay. I helped one of these dudes fix a gun that he had gotten as a gift. He didn't know how to fix it and was broken. I was like, all right, here's the part you need to order. There's a gun shop. Like, I'm going to help you fix this, dude. Yeah, just take it down there tomorrow. They'll fix it for you in like 5 minutes.
Nice.
But it was just like, no offense to you guys. Like, I'm not being disrespectful, but like, you play a sport. Like, you're great at your job. Guess what? So am I.
So am I.
And my shit's real. Like, my shit's life and death. So it's nice that you guys do this. And if you played a sport that I even genuinely liked, like if you guys were hockey players, I'd probably be starstruck. If I was hanging out with like 2 of the best hockey players in the world, But it didn't bother me to hang out with professional football players because I just
That
it's
wasn't
not
that
again
wasn't
it's
your
not a
bag.
disrespectful thing, but yeah, like I'm not placing you above me, man. Like we're equivalent, and I'm gonna treat you like an equal. You're great at your job. That's good. So am I. And like again, my shit's real. My shit like has life and death consequences with it. So like it's good that you're good at your job, but like I understand the pressures that you do. Like, and I think there was commisery there where it was like I do understand what it's like when all eyes are upon you. I do understand when it's like when it does feel life or death for them, because it's the weight of the world and the weight of a city, a franchise and a multi-$100 million, company. So I get that. I get the parallels between that. I think that's where we were like, yeah, okay, we can hang out.
Right.
But every single one of them were like interested in what I was doing and would have liked to be doing what I was doing and like actually out there in the action just as much as I would like to be what they were. And so like there was that too, where it's just like, interesting.
Hmm.
It was also good because like I do talk about these sort of divergent type of topics. Like I'm open, honest about these things about like performance anxiety. And I was like ask them,
Mm-hmm.
like, do you guys like I used to puke before wrestling matches. I used to puke before a really serious call, like overseas, where I knew like it was gonna be fucked up. Like we're gonna go see some shit.
See
Like
some stuff, yeah.
just nerves and like or if I just knew it was going to be dangerous. Like I knew when we went on certain operations, we were going to a certain neighborhood and like some shit's going to jump off and like it's unpredictable and you don't know when it's going to happen, but you just know it's going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so like, yeah, that would like give me nerves. And so I asked him, I was like, do you guys ever get nerves like that? Like, how do you deal with that? Like you got to, man. Like,
Yeah.
the whole country's watching. Like it's your guys' shit is bigger than church in our country. So like, how do you deal with that? And they're like, man, honestly, like it's like builds and builds and builds. So it's like it was like a condition type of thing for them was the way they described it. It was like when you get to college, like they're like honestly, college was harder than the NFL for nerves and nervousness, like and for people having all eyes on you. He's like the stadium's bigger, like there's more eyes on you there. So like when you get to this point, it's kind of like okay, I've already been there, done that. But he
Gotcha.
was like, 19, 20 years old as a kid playing for so much more than
And so much
yourself.
riding on it in between because
Yeah,
it's like, man, this can be the make or break of my adulthood and what I have to shift
I
and
either
do.
do this and I eat steak every night, or I go back to eating McDonald's
Right.
double cheeseburger on the dollar menu. Like that was literally a quote. Like I do this and I eat fucking filet mignon every night, or I go back to eating double cheeseburgers from the dollar menu. What
Yeah.
do I do?
And then you're bringing all the people along with you at that young age where you're not
Every
even
single one of them.
fully developed yet. And it's like, man, that's a lot on their backs. So that brings up another topic of survivor's remorse.
Oof.
When you are young and successful and you find your niche or you find a thing that you're really good at as a guy, and now you are the leader for not only your own personal family that you bring in, but maybe your mother's mother, your grandparents, or your uncles and your cousins, or anybody that's underneath you, or even your friends that might
Familial
not be.
obligations.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Familial
how does that
obligations.
work?
Honestly, like for me personally, it was like, hey, no, I'm not. I did try to help people with bills, like family. I did try that for a short time, and I just realized, like, yeah, it's a dead end road. And
Mm,
yeah, it doesn't matter how successful I am, I can't want it enough for somebody. I've said this phrase in other aspects, but like, I can dig a lake and fill it with water and drag that horse to it and try and dunk its head in. It's still gonna fucking fight me. And it doesn't matter how nice that lake is, how crystal clear and pristine that water is, what I'm offering, that that horse ain't gonna drink, and it
right.
doesn't want to at the end of the day. And if it did, it would
Be
be
there.
right there next to me with a shovel digging the goddamn lake. So
Mm,
everybody that I know that has means, that has wealth and the ability to help there's the analogy of somebody like my car broke down and I sat there for 2 hours with my thumb out. I put it in neutral, took the parking brake off, and started pushing it, and people stopped and
started
helped me
and help you
push.
push, right?
People want to see you pushing your car. people want to get behind that. Fight for your fucking self. You have to fight for yourself no matter what. If you fight for anything, fight for conviction for yourself. That does boil down to the suicide, and people lose that ability, that will, that desire to fight for themselves.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I can understand that mindset. I can understand spiraling down and feeling like you'll never get back to what you were. Maybe you have survivor's remorse or regret and guilt of people that died that you felt like it should have been you. I felt that way. Like I was at a doctor's appointment when a situation happened, and it was like, fuck, I had seen that exact thing, knew I would have said something when it was going down, would have saved it, prevented it from happening, knew I could have. So I held that against myself. I felt like I was the reason why my friends died for years. I felt like it was all my fault. And then I talked to one of my friends about it, was honest about it. It was like, no, I blame myself. It was all my fault. I was like, dude, no, it wasn't.
Right. At the end of the day, yeah.
Like, we could do this shit towards the end of time. We could spend the rest of our fucking lives reflecting back and thinking, oh, if I had just done that. Because you know what? You can hold it against yourself if you did it again.
Okay.
That's how you forgive yourself. That's how you deal with your regrets, your self-regret. You say, I can hold this shit against me if I do it again. If I do it again, if I don't learn this lesson, then I can hold this against me. But I've learned my lesson from this. Like, the reason why I'm thinking about it, the reason why I'm talking about it is because it stayed with me. So let me learn my lesson.
Okay, now let me pose this to you. What part of this is kind of like, remember when we were talking about young men and having like an overinflated sense of self? At what point do we address the overinflated sense of self that you can stop someone from doing something, or that your overexerting of yourself is going to change the course of history? Sometimes it can, but oftentimes, especially in the situations that you and I are familiar with, there is nothing that you can do that is going to stop a person. So when do we start addressing you can't beat yourself into the ground about something that you honestly don't have any control over?
There's I'll keep referencing Stoic philosophy, but we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality, far more than we do in reality. I believe it's a quote from Seneca. And like, that's sort of the goal of it is like, do not suffer imaginary troubles. Do not impose these things upon yourself that were not real, that do not exist. It's hard for somebody like you and I that's empathetic, that are also just very selfless. I think, honestly, that's like one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten.
Yeah. But it's so bad, too, at the same time, because we're selfless to a fault.
It's exactly. It can be absolutely to a fault. Like, we can martyr ourselves. Like, I was, volunteering and subscribing myself to things where it was just like,
if you don't go sit your ass down somewhere, like what is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, I think it was my ex-wife. She was like, so you're just trying to die? Like, this is what you're doing now? Like, this is the goal? Is this your career path?
And you're looking, you're like, no, I'm doing
dangerous shit. Yeah. She was like, it literally feels to me like you sat down and critically thought about the most dangerous thing you could do and decided you were going to do that. I was like, well, that was not my logic, but I see on the surface how you say that. And it was just like, okay, yeah, all right,
fine.
You're talking some real sense.
Fine, okay. Thank you for ruining my moment. I had that all planned out. I had
some ideas. But, and you need, I'll circle back again to the therapy thing, like the influences that you have, the people that are closest to you, like, you need that person to be like, no, don't do that. That's absolutely stupid. Like, what are you talking about right now? And that person that you respect enough to believe them when they say that, like, I believe her when she tells me that I'm being irrational. She actually truly knows me. One of the reasons why I called her when I was struggling, and it was just like, yeah, I owe that to her, just to let her know, like, hey, this happened. But like, whenever I talk to you, you always kind of talk me off the edge and bring me down. So, there's lots of reasons. And like, she was kind of shocked and surprised a little bit.
Like, what?
Like, but yeah, relieved and happy of like, okay, I see this. Like, you kind of think that she wanted that for me, when we were together, and I didn't do it when I was younger. But it was like, hey, here I am.
Here I am now. I'm showing up now with this new package.
this little grain of sand of wisdom that I've learned after
Yes.
21 years that like sometimes it's okay to say you're not okay. Sometimes it's okay to admit that and just like, hey, I'm at my end today and I need a little help. I just need a conversation with you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple more questions for you. What are your thoughts on, and have you ever experienced um sabotage, self-sabotage? And I'm going to give you my example of what I mean
I
when I
read a
say,
book on it.
yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to give you my example on it. We were just talking about how, your ex said she felt like you were picking the most dangerous things on purpose. Um, I have had instances where I both have done it and watched people purposely, but not purposely, send themselves to the edge to see what would be the outcome. Like, I've known people that are like, well, I don't want to harm myself, but if this happens, I'm okay with it because I didn't do it myself. It's almost like you take the responsibility off of making a decision to do something by doing something just as dangerous that can give you that same end result. Have you ever felt like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, honestly, I could write a book about self-sabotage. Like
Okay.
I'm literally like the boy who blocked his own shot. Like,
I've never heard that before in my life, but that's
yeah,
awesome. The boy who blocked his own shot.
yeah.
Holy shit.
Like I I crave the results and want and am passionate and disciplined enough to like produce like significant results, but I hate the attention that comes along with it. Like I
Mm.
don't like award ceremonies. I don't like the spotlight. I don't like there's this level of insecurity in me where it's like somebody's going to invalidate this and tell me that it wasn't good enough or like real, or take it away from me. I don't know why I get this sensation. It's just what it is. It was maddening to my coaches for track and cross country and running because I couldn't hold the lead. And like I
Mm.
pace myself off of the pack. And it's like all I can win, but like I have to surge up from the pack in like the last half a mile.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but like
The
if I just
struggle has
ran,
to be real. Like, I have to break
I have to
myself.
see it. Yeah, I have to see it. I have to know that like I'm coming from behind. Like I can't just run away with the lead. And so it was funny. Like he took me out to a track like on a weekend. And it was like run the course as fast as you can by yourself. And my time was like a minute and a half faster.
And it's like, why
And
do
like
you need to do
that's
this to
insane.
yourself?
Yeah, like why do you do this? Why do you psych yourself out and sabotage yourself out of a victory? You would have won that race by like a good 30 seconds
Yeah.
if you had ran that time. Like, do you not understand that this is in you, that you're capable of this? Like, what is going on in your brain where you won't let yourself win?
I think that it comes from, not that you don't know it, but you're afraid. And I know that I struggle with this too. Afraid of being great. Like, what
Yeah, it,
happens if I am what I think I am truly?
it
Fuck.
was funny. Like the imposter syndrome thing definitely materialized the older I got. And it's like, okay, well, now it's undeniable. And like important people are saying things about me that like, it makes me feel like you're all lying. Like, do you know this is perjury? Like, we're under oath. Who are you calling a subject matter expert?
Right. Don't do that, because now what's the
And
responsibility that goes with that? Even though
yeah,
you're doing the responsible thing anyway, it's like,
I was just doing my job. But like, what do you mean third party team of experts that you hired? Like, you're in front of Congress, sir. Like that. I wouldn't call myself the expert, but like if you do, like, okay. And then, but I confronted those issues with my friends, and they're like, "Well, what is an expert to somebody? Like, what is your definition of that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's like the 20,000 hour rule." And I was like, "Well, have you not spent 20,000 hours doing this job?" And it's
but
like,
even saying that, it
but still,
still
but
doesn't
like, yeah,
feel right. It still doesn't feel right. It's
no,
good for everybody
no.
else, but it does not feel right.
Yes. And I'm just like, who are you talking about? Like, this is not how I view myself, but okay, if you say so, well, I guess I'll go with it.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel awkward. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And like, it manifests itself in different ways. Right. Um, and yeah, like one of the easiest way for me to view it was like, oh, like the cross country and track running thing, and like this thing my coach did, because he's just like, I see you psyching yourself out every fucking week, and it
Yeah.
just drives him crazy. He's
No.
like, when people say like running is 80% mental, they really mean that.
No,
It
I
is.
totally agree with that. And the reason why I say that is because I come and I have these conversations and I have to psych myself into saying that these are conversations versus this is something that I truly want. Because then I'm afraid that on the other end of it, it'll be like, you don't deserve that. Like, this is not as good as you think it is, or this can't be what you want it to be. So I have to give myself that cloud where it's like, oh no, this is just fun. This is entertainment for you. This is your learning, but it's not a thing.
Yeah. I honestly, when I walked away from our last episode, I told my friend, I was like, that felt like therapeutic for me. It was a good experience to be introspective and to be open and honest about myself and like acknowledge these things, but especially like to acknowledge to myself, like what felt good was like, I've spent a lot of time learning about myself. I've spent a lot of time investing in it, like it is hard work. I think that's a thing and a misconception about therapy that like people need to know that like, this is going to hurt. It's like physical therapy for your brain.
Yes.
And if you've ever had surgery or like sprained something or broken a bone and you go to physical therapy, that therapy is pain. You might as well just make this pain therapy because it's a very good lesson in how you're going to do it. But it's absolutely necessary to rehabilitate yourself to bring it back to where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to analogize that with your mind and trauma or events and injuries to, the psyche, think about that. Like, how much physical therapy are people doing for their brains,
Right.
versus how much injury they've sustained, and not in the physical sense, but in the mental sense.
Mental sense.
The times where somebody made you feel invalidated, made you feel like you were nothing. The times where you felt you were bullied and like you couldn't overcome the circumstance, and fight back. Like it was futile to fight back. Those types of things. Like everybody has those moments, but like how many people heal from those moments?
Right.
What do they take and carry away with them? So like, I think if anything, like the self-honesty, the discipline, the understanding, acknowledgement of like, I need to do this to heal and it's going to hurt along the way. But I'm healing my brain muscle.
You're healing your brain muscle. I like that.
Your soul muscle.
Your soul muscle. Okay. Do you feel like a lot of men want to have a soul?
Yeah, I think it's there's still a romantic and romanticized element to every man, right? Like we write love songs. What we think y'all want to hear.
Okay, so is that truth, or is that you do it because of the end result of I want the woman, not necessarily in a physical sense, but I want this person as my companion, and I do this, or is it genuinely a part of you all? Because I think a lot of women feel like you all don't do very many things unless there is an end goal for you.
I think it's a combination of both. Like every man has this in him, and like like I told you before, like there's dudes that I'm like very close friends with where like women wouldn't date them because they like me, and they wouldn't date me because they like them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just the different types of people, and they're looking for different things out of us. I think if a woman's like looking for a guy that wants to be open and passionate about, like she can do her best to like bring that out of him and like make it comfortable. It's not your responsibility. Like this is honestly like we're just faltered and failing, and I don't know how you deal with us. Fucking men are trash. Like we just expect you all to do this work and put it on you. It's like, go to therapy, dumbass. Like seriously, like I'll give you $1,000. Just go to therapy. Like it would change your fucking life if you just looked inward for 5 minutes a day.
But
5
I don't
fucking
think
minutes a day
men want to do it sometimes because I don't think that they feel like
because it
they're gonna
hurts.
be okay on the other end of it.
I see what you're saying. So it's like a wager of time, money, effort, and pain of like I'm not going to get better from this. I'm
I'm
not going to heal
I'm
from
not.
this.
I think honestly, it's not necessarily.
I don't
I'm not
see the
necessarily
fucking
going to be
point.
better, but how do I?
It's a
If I
yeah, it's
cry,
futile.
I've heard a
Mhm.
lot of men say, if I cry, I don't know if I'll ever stop. And I feel like it's the same thing with going to therapy or opening up old wounds. If I start
Damn.
this, will I be okay after? Especially if you think about the idea of you've had 30 something therapists. If every time you've gone through that process of breaking yourself, you didn't have something to hold you back, like, man, you know what? It's worth trying again. It's okay. I can see it. Like,
Mhm.
you don't know if you're gonna be okay. And the devil that I know is better than the devil that I don't know. And so that for me is where I feel the most empathy towards men. It's like, I don't know if you're gonna be okay after.
Yeah. Um I I think I got that sensation a couple times. I had like a few kind of like rough dates where I was probably too honest too soon about some of the military stuff,
Mm,
and it was like very off-putting, or like almost I guess it was just like a big red flag I was waving that like, hey, I'm fucked up from this stuff and haven't really managed it yet, still trying to process. And so it kind of like shied people away from me. um it did like get to a point where it was just like resignation almost, where it's like, well, this is how I'm going to be, like this is just who and how I am, and like it doesn't matter how hard I try or how much work I do and how painful it is, like I'm not going to be that much better, like marginally, incrementally, maybe. But like,
hmm
am I really going to heal and overcome this stuff? Or is it going to be like the generations ahead of me and the forefathers and, what I witnessed, where it's just like, you just suck it up,
hmm
deal with it, go about your day.
Right.
Like, this is just part of your life, you just take it in like everything else. Um, yeah, that sucks. And I do think like we're witness to that. Everybody is, where like a lot of men in society just are just like, yeah, no, like trying to do this seems futile. Trying to heal, to recover, to repair things, like this is actually just how real life is, and you're stupid for not knowing it.
Right.
You haven't
Exactly.
suffered enough to know that this is just the way life's going to be, son.
It's just going to be cyclical. Something else is going to come and
Yeah,
replace this. So, yeah.
yeah, it is. Cyclical is a good word, and it's actually like very like term based for what we're discussing with mental health. And it also is tied into like, hey, there's going to be another storm, and there's going to be other sunny days.
Yes.
There is. Some of these storms are going to be worse. Some of these days are going to be sunny and hot and miserable, actually. It's going to feel like it
Like,
was
oh
good, but
my
it
God,
sucks.
it's way too
Yeah,
much
now I got a
sun.
sunburn. Yeah, I had too much of the good time and a good thing here. Bring on the rain.
Right.
I need to come back down. And so there's an equilibrium, a balance, a median point, that I think, mentally men need to hit, and not go left, right limits, too far in one direction. But if we're talking about happiness and like actually trying to be happy and men's mental health and like what you want, yeah, it goes back to the point that I made, where it's like it was the absence of all these things, but the acknowledgement of the rainy days and the storms to come, and to take a step back from it, not be consumed by it in the moment, and just understand that like this is cyclical. There'll be another
Mm-hmm.
one.
Right.
We've done this before. We made it through. We're going to do it again, and we'll do it again next time, even better prepared, because we'll
I'm
know
about to
more
say,
this time
use
around.
some of the tools that we
Yep.
learned this first time in order to make it a little bit less painful.
And we'll enjoy these sunny days, but not too much. Not so much that we get sunburned by them, but we'll enjoy the sunny days and in the joyful times they come, but not too much. Keep it in a balance,
Yes.
and then we'll be happy. And then we love the storm that came because of what it brought.
It brought with it.
And like
Yes.
that's the amor fati, the love of fate, the love of how things actually are, not where we wanted them to be or how we wanted them to be, but loving fate, truly loving our lives no matter what.
True that. Yes. Well, I thank you so much. This was, again, you're probably going to be a regular
I would love
for
to.
more than one reason. But yes, this was awesome.
Yeah, it's something to me when I talked about it to other people. I was excited to do it because of the amount of loss I've sustained and persons that I've lost to suicide. So if this helps even just one person at all, like I can promise you it's already has, because it's helping me to
Right.
acknowledge, to discuss, and talk about these things. So it is a form of therapy for me. And it does help me to like discuss. Yeah, it was a difficult time the last few weeks,
Right.
losing two guys back to back in weeks. And um, I would like to share that it is positive. It's okay to say that you're not okay. And like the response you get back might surprise you. And I think that you'll have a lot more people in your life that love you, care about you, want you to be here than you ever knew. I knew all of that about my friends, but like the outpouring of support from them was
The reassurance
like
is a lot.
reassuring and almost overwhelmingly positive. Like it was just like, fuck, okay, no, I'm all right. I just had a bad day, but it was like I was getting to that point where I was like almost impatient because I wake up and 7 o'clock in the morning, my phone's blown up already. It was
We
just like,
talked
hey brother,
about
you
those sunny
good?
days. Like, okay, I no more sunburn. No more sunburn. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Well, no, and today's not raining. Like it's fair weather. It's a little cloudy outside, but we're okay. I'm good. I don't need it today. But like it was just a grateful reminder of why I did the things that I did. I think it was to set myself up for this, because I knew, like, after losing so many people, like some storms can't be like forged alone. I'm not gonna make it through on my own. I'm gonna have to ask somebody for some shelter or some help at some point. And there is absolutely nothing fucking wrong with it. Nobody has treated me differently or negatively. Everybody has told me positively and reassured me that like that was the right thing to do.
Yes.
And that's why I'm not going to be the third person. Like these bad things come in threes, and like I will not be.
You absolutely right. You got a seventh person that you're gonna have to call. Add it on to the list.
Noted. All right, confidant.
Yes.
Thank you again. Like this has been great, and I really do respect and appreciate the platform, the ability to draw attention to these like significant issues that have impacted all of us in society. It's half the population, so let's talk about it. It matters. It really does matter.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.